Thank you, everybody. We're now moving into the very important program of allied health. Now, this to me is probably one of the major aspects when it comes to caring for people with Prader-Willi syndrome. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Pauline Chang and Jessica McDowell from Napa. Pauline's a senior paediatric physiotherapist. She's fiercely passionate about advocating and untapping the potential in children with Prader-Willi syndrome and other rare conditions. She holds a Bachelor of Kinesiology from the University of British Columbia and a Master of Physiotherapy from Uni of Sydney. Beyond her clinical practice, Pauline volunteers at Ocean Heroes and is dedicated to continuous learning to stay abreast of the latest research and advancements in paediatric physiotherapy. Presenting with Pauline today is Jessica McDowell, and she holds a master's degree in both clinical neuroscience and physiotherapy. She's worked as a physiotherapist for over 10 years and has worked with the paediatric population across many clinical areas. So I'll welcome you both and thank you very much. And they're speaking on Move to Thrive, Empowerment Through Physical Activity.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Pauline.
And I'm Jess.
And we're both physiotherapists from the Napa Center. At Napa, we specialize in working with kids with very rare genetic and complex conditions. Okay, so these are the three things that we'll be covering today. So first, we're going to dive into talking about the role of physical activity in the management of PWS. Then, there we go, now that works. Okay, so today we'll be covering these three topics. So first, we're going to dive into the role of physical activity in managing PWS. Then we're going to talk about guidelines for effective exercise. And then we're going to end this presentation on some exercise considerations. Okay, so before we even jump into talking about why exercise is so essential, we first need to understand the main body composition differences. So these are the three main body composition differences. So you have hypotonia, you have impaired secretion of growth hormone, and you have high body fat percentage. So once we're able to understand these unique differences, then that's when we'll be able to actually fully understand why exercise is so crucial in targeting each one of these differences, not just for the long term, but it's both long term and short term as well. Okay, so let's talk about hypotonia first. So hypotonia is low muscle tone, and it's used to describe muscles are floppy. But what does that word actually mean? So this is a main characteristic of PWS, but what does it actually mean, and how does that actually impact physical activity or daily movements? So I want you guys to just rest your left arm just on your lap. Now I want you to take the other hand and pinch your biceps. So that tension that you feel right there, that is what we call muscle tone. So even when your arm is relaxed and at rest and not moving, you can still feel that tension, and that tension is muscle tone. And even at rest, our muscle has a certain tension to them. So individuals with PWS have low muscle tone, so they'll need to put in more effort to get their muscle moving during physical activity or during any activity at all. And even static positions such as maintaining a good posture in sitting and even standing can be quite challenging as well. So this is a great visual for just demonstrating what normal muscle tone looks like and what low muscle tone looks like. So you can see on the left, that picture, that's what normal muscle tone looks like. And on the right, that's low muscle tone. So just like this elastic band right here, when I pull it tight, there's enough tension. When I loosen it up, there's not a lot of tension in the middle. So whenever we move, whenever we want to produce a movement, when we move, our muscles require a lot of force to be able to generate a movement that we want to do. So the thing with low muscle tone is that whenever an individual has that low muscle tone, it actually takes a lot more effort and force to be able to produce any movement. So even, for example, if you're sitting on the chair and you're about to stand up, it takes so much effort if you have low muscle tone. Okay, so these are some of the impacts of hypotonia. So first you have that ligament and joint laxity. So a lot of times this contributes to hypermobility and increased flexibility in individual with PWS. So a lot of times when PWS and individual with PWS are in standing, they tend to lock out through their knee joint. They have that hyperextension at the knee joint to be able to find that stability in standing, or with that stability when they're moving. Other impacts of hypotonia also includes decreased strength, poor cardiovascular endurance, poor and reduced balance and coordination, as well as low gait cadence, and they're also very quick to fatigue as well. So in a clinical setting, when we're in a session, we usually see kids fatigue, usually within that 30 to 40 minute mark within a session. Okay, so even though we can't really change the structure of our muscle or the tone of our muscle, regular exercise can help build muscle strength, and it will counter the effects of hypotonia. Strengthening muscles, especially in the muscles that's around the shoulder, hips, core, can improve stability to support activities of daily living. So a great example is, let's say, for example, if I have strong enough muscles around my shoulder joint, then how will that support function? That will support function for me being able to control what's distally. So anytime we're strengthening anything that's proximal to the body, meaning that it's central to the body. So for example, shoulder, core, and pelvis, and distal strength will come. So if I have strong enough muscles around the shoulders, then I'm able to manipulate an object with my hand. I'm able to handwrite with control. So that's how that hypotonia, or that strength training, and why that's so important. Evidence has also shown that exercises focusing especially on core strength can help improve posture and balance, which then reduces the risk of falls and increase upright confidence.
Okay, so another difference in body composition is the effect of reduction in growth hormone secretion. So impaired secretion of growth hormone occurs in approximately 80% of adults and about around 80% of children and around 60% of adults with PWS. So a reduction in growth hormone secretion can cause an increase in adiposity or fat tissues, and consequently a reduction in muscle mass, which contributes to worsening of obesity and an increase in joint laxity, so it can further exacerbate the effects of hypotonia. So further impacts of a reduction in growth hormone can cause short stature, reduced blood sugar level, increased fat mass, as I'd mentioned, the adiposity, decreased muscle mass, and a low bone density. Yeah, thank you. So although many individuals take exogenous growth hormone, which has a positive impact on fat tissue and lean body mass, it's also important to include lifestyle interventions that increase maximal physiological or natural release of growth hormone, such as exercise. So exercise has a positive effect of growth hormone secretion and enhances the effect of growth hormone treatment, which can increase height, body fat, reduce body fat, increase muscle mass, and improve weight distribution. So this diagram shows the effect of obesity and aging on growth hormone release and the positive effects on the exercise has on growth hormone reduction. Okay, so as we get older and as we increase weight, a reduction in growth hormone is a normal consequence. Oh, sorry, I'm feeling a bit dizzy. Yes, please. Would you want to get me some more? So yes, unfortunately, as we increase our weight and as we get older, our natural ability to secrete growth hormone reduces. So in this diagram, the red arrows represent the negative effects of obesity and aging, and the green arrows represent the positive effects of aerobic exercise, acute aerobic exercise, on growth hormone secretion, as well as our cardiorespiratory fitness levels and our fat tissues. So if you see the red lines at the top, they represent an inhibitory effect. So obesity and aging directly inhibit growth hormone secretion, and they increase our fat stores, and they reduce our cardiorespiratory fitness, so our ability to partake in kind of more vigorous exercise and our exercise endurance, essentially. So the broken green lines represent a potential pathway of exercise-induced improvement. So as you can see, aerobic exercise can create this kind of positive feedback loop where we increase our cardiorespiratory fitness, which can have a positive effect on growth hormone, which then consequently reduces our visceral adipose tissue or our fat tissues. And then the red lines represent this negative loop of that reduction in growth hormone, reduction in cardiorespiratory fitness, and our increase in our fat tissues. So our final difference in body composition is an increase in body fat. So generally, individuals with PWS have around 2 to 3 times higher percentage of body fat than the general population, with it on average being 40 to 50%. With this results in an overall increase, overall reduction of muscle mass, a significant reduction in energy expenditure, so their ability to partake in exercise, and a lower resting metabolic rate. So our resting metabolic rate refers to how much energy our body is burning at rest, so how the calories we consume from food, how quickly our body can burn these off. So the lower the the resting metabolic rate, the harder it is to burn energy. So it turns into this like vicious cycle, essentially. So further impacts of higher body fat percentage in general are that it can lead to lots of other health problems, which include high blood pressure. It can cause premature death, coronary artery disease and other heart diseases, and also sleep apnea. So it's crucial to find the right balance between energy intake and expenditure, so to prevent obesity and to be able to manage weight. So evidence suggests that vigorous exercise can raise our resting metabolic rate by around 10%, whereas mild to moderate exercise has a minimal effect. So we'll talk about what the terms vigorous, mild, moderate mean in the next section. But essentially, increasing our exercise will help maintain body weight, reduce body fat percentage, and also can decrease resting heart rate and increase our aerobic capacity. So increase that ability to engage in exercise for longer periods. So now that we've talked about kind of understanding there's 3 main differences in body composition and why exercise is crucial in supporting those differences, here's some other reasons why exercise is important in general. So exercise, physical activity increases our self-esteem and our confidence. It can improve mental health, promotes better sleep, improves digestion and bowel movement. It can boost our immune system, develop healthy heart and lungs. It can improve concentration and focus, and also enhancing social skills, which is really important, especially for like the kids that we work with, so they can kind of engage more with their peers, keeping up with their peers, and playing and engaging in age-appropriate activities.
Okay, so as mentioned already, exercise has been shown to counter the effects of low muscle tone, reduces body fat as well, and it also has a positive effect on secretion of growth hormone. But how much exercise is actually needed, and what actually counts as exercise? So we'll be answering those questions in the next few slides. Okay, so this is what we call the FIT principle. It is basically a guideline for structuring effective exercise. So FIT stands for frequency, intensity, type, and time. So you can also think about the FIT principle as a way of structuring your exercise so that it actually becomes meaningful, and it can also be helpful to be able to structure exercise in a way where it can also become eventually a habit or a routine. So it was focusing not just on that short term, but also long term as well. So with frequency, evidence has shown that individual with PWS, you should be exercising on a daily basis and at least 3 times a week. In terms for intensity, it should be a combination of moderate to vigorous or all vigorous physical activity. And you can use a PERT scale to be able to determine that. And we'll talk about that a bit in the next slide. For type, it should be activities that they enjoy, that they love, that it provides meaning and add values to their life. This can be done in that 10 to 15 minutes burst throughout the day. It doesn't have to be all in one go. And for time, it should be 60 minutes total. You can start with 20 minutes and slowly increase that duration. So this is the PERT scale that I just talked about. So on that lower end, it stands for this physical activity is very, very easy. When I'm participating in this physical activity, I can run, I can sing, I can chat with someone. And 10, which is at the top of the scale, it stands for, oh my goodness, this exercise is so hard, I'm breathing so fast, I need to stop. So with individuals with PWS, they need to be working in that 6 to 9 range in order for the exercise to be counted as effective or vigorous. So here are some examples of strength training. So strength training is very important to target that low muscle mass, that weakness, and also that hypotonia as well. So here are some examples of different body parts and how strength training can benefit those body parts. So for upper limb, you have crawling, ladder climbing, bear crawls. For core, even just going into the park, sitting on a swing, that's actually targeting and activating those core muscle. Other exercise ideas are inchworm or even bounces on an exercise ball. For lower limb, you have step-ups, stairs, or even squats as well. So you can see from this chart that strength training doesn't always have to incorporate dumbbells. It can be body weight as well, and it can be fun. Okay, so here is a series of videos, and it shows that basically developing strength is so important because it also supports activities of daily living. So we'll play the first video, please.
Yeah, good girl, let's go.
So this is Miss A. She is 3 years old, and in her physiotherapy session, we'll play again, please. You can see that she is going in a half kneel position, coming up into standing. So what that works on is that single limb balance, single limb power. She's holding onto a weighted ball, so she really has to turn on her core muscles to be able to stay upright. And how does that translate into function? So the next video, please. So because she's built upon that strength from that exercise, she's now able to go up and down the stairs with support.
Go, no hand on knees, you don't need it. 1, 2, 3, go, all the way. Yeah, so good. And then you go 1, 2, 3, all the way. So strong, good girl.
And then lastly, the last video, how does that translate into function in daily activities? The last video shows that then she's able to go up the stairs all by herself within a home environment. Okay, and this is another example as well. So here we have Miss M, who is 7 years old. We'll play the first video, please. So in her therapy session, she's working on that single limb power, that single limb, that upper limb strength, to be able to throw the ball, even that motor pattern, that coordination as well. And how does that help translate into daily activities? We'll play the second video, please. So then, because she has that shoulder girdle strength and stability and that power and that coordination, she's then able to participate in netball skill or netball classes with peers of her age. So not only is strength training important, but also aerobic conditioning as well, which is also known as cardio. So it basically refers, aerobic capacity or aerobic conditioning basically refers to the maximum amount of energy or oxygen, your body can use at one time during vigorous activity. So here are some examples of aerobic conditioning. We have brisk walking, running, bike riding, swimming, jumping on the trampoline, or just playing and running around in soft play centers. So in summary, to target aerobic conditioning, you basically want to be doing physical activities that the individual enjoys to basically get their heart pounding, to get them breathing faster.
Okay, so while we've talked about the importance of exercise and how much and what type of exercise is necessary, we understand it's not always that simple, and knowing how and what to do doesn't always mean it can easily be done. So there's lots of considerations to think about when introducing or increasing physical activity for these individuals. So firstly, especially as we work with children, these individuals can be more fearful of new or challenging tasks, and they can be quick to fatigue, and they can be stuck in rigid play, and communication can be really difficult. So let's just look into these a little bit more. So these are some considerations that we've seen in a clinical setting when trying to motivate kids to increase their engagement and participation with exercise. So firstly, with rigid play. So strategies we found have helped have been like not making big changes, small steps. For example, if a child is always playing with the same toy in the same way, you could add a new toy to play with alongside that, or play with the same toy just in a different way, gradually trying to stretch their play. And just not giving them choices and not pushing them too much with rigid play. And then being fearful of new or challenging tasks. Again, especially children can be really nervous or scared to move in a new way, especially if they have hypotonia or they have issues with balance or coordination. So as we saw in the video just now, like breaking down the activity into part practice, so it's less scary and easier for them to achieve. So we want them to feel a sense of empowerment. So slowly building up, increasing their confidence. And then with quick to fatigue, so like Pauline said, like that kind of 30, 40 minutes is probably enough time for kids to be exercising and then feeling the effects of fatigue. So we have 50-minute sessions at Napa, and generally we'd give breaks between each set if that's what the child needs. So after 10 or 15 minutes, we'd notice those fatigue levels, the energy levels dropping. So generally this would improve with time as they build up their aerobic capacity. So helping them to build up their stamina and endurance. And then with communication, so if individuals don't understand you or you don't understand them, they'll become frustrated, become withdrawn. So it's important to recognize that communication isn't always verbal. Using short sentences to help them with their understanding, and encourage them to use other words to help with your understanding. And also getting speech therapy on board from a really early age is really important. And if you've got any concerns or to discuss with your speech therapist, essentially.
Okay, so lastly, we just want to end off the presentation on the slide. So we talked about the importance of strength training, we talked about the importance of aerobic capacity, but at the end of the day, how does that make a difference? So through building a solid foundation where living an active lifestyle is routine, we can then empower individuals with PWS to take charge of their own journey and live a fulfilling and meaningful life. Through the past 5 years I worked at Napa, we see a lot of kids with PWS, and I can tell you for a fact that individuals with PWS, they're so capable. They're so determined, they're so smart, they're so clever. Occasionally they can be very sassy as well, but at the end of the day, they're so capable. Once we give them that opportunity in an environment that's positive, that's supportive, that's how we can really untap their potential and support their journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
1 minute for questions. Are there any questions, please, for Pauline and Jessica?
Does anyone have a question before I just say something? I can't agree with you more about the importance of exercise, but just a couple of things. I don't think that physical activity increases growth hormone levels, and any exercise is good, and you do need a combination. And the reason that our muscle mass, I'm not talking about Prader-Willi here, but the reason our muscle mass reduces as we get older is predominantly because of not exercising. So it's really important to keep the muscles moving. you've got the more time you spend you lose muscle very quickly, and that's something that people really need to be aware of, particularly when you start with a low muscle mass. So if people are unwell and they're spending weeks and weeks in bed, they're losing muscle, and it's very easy to lose muscle. You can lose, in a few weeks, you can lose several kilos of muscle. Now, to build it up again with this sort of exercise that these ladies have nicely described is hard work, and you only build up a little bit. So the really important message is that we all need to keep our muscles moving, but especially our children with Prader-Willi syndrome. It's really important.
And I think just adding onto that, we've seen that every time a child goes through a growth spurt, then they actually then need to sort of go back to the baseline and rebuild that muscle mass as well, especially in the core. Yeah.
Yep. Hello, my name's Sarah. I'm a speech pathologist in Sydney, and I just wanted to make a comment to say how important the physio is, particularly in the 0 to 2-year-olds, because it does develop their core strength, and as a speech pathologist, it helps them to speak because you're building abdominal support for airflow for speech production. It helps with their feeding, helps with their speech. So I encourage most of the children I see to get into the physio, do the intensives, get the physio in these early years. It makes such a difference to their speech and feeding outcomes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, Pauline and Jessica.
Thank you.